areas along or near and east of Crawfordsville, this area right here, this is getting closer and closer to the metro. This warning goes until 4:30. Damaging wind, and it's these little things, these little bowing structures right here, those are the ones that would be causing the strongest amounts of wind, and also maybe a brief spin up or a gustnado or something like that. But these little bows that we call them, it's a bowing structure, that's where we have some intense wind at times here, Ryan.
I just want to add, it's moving northeast at 65 miles an hour. And the thunderstorm warning is for 70-mile-an-hour winds. So 60-mile-an-hour winds, actually 58, above 58 is severe thunderstorm criteria. We're being warned for 70 miles an hour. So there is a considerable tag for damage within this warning. That includes, I believe it was Clinton, Boone County, Montgomery, Howard, and Tipton until 4:30.
Right, and strong, powerful wind, lots of lightning. Let's sample some of these wind speeds as well. We're in that area where it's a little bit difficult to see, but we can just assume most likely we're looking at some of these wind speeds that could be in excess of 50, 60, maybe up to 70 miles per hour, maybe some of that extensive wind threat in some of these areas here. So Crawfordsville and back to the east and northeast towards Frankfort, that's where we have strong damaging wind potential with the little bowing structures there. And south and west, let's go down southwest just a little bit here. Here's the metro, there's Bloomington. Down here, Linton right here. We have more thunderstorms, more heavy rain, more strong wind, brighter green here on our velocity product. That is where we have the strong wind. And it could be 50, 60, 70. Again, this is sampling speeds above ground level. Look at that, even up to 82. So not all of this is probably reaching the ground. But we can assume some of this is, and we've had wind gusts measured at some of our airports today up to 60, and there's our updated scan right there. So throw in the shear rate here, Ryan, and that will clear this up just a little bit. We're likely going to have a pretty good line of thunderstorm activity come on in. There's our new warning right there. Okay, so this one goes until 4:45. So basically from 4:65 back to Greencastle, all of this right now is a severe thunderstorm warning. And Ryan, dig into that chat. Is it just a regular warning?
I was going to say, so this warning, which now takes us up to western parts of Marion County, Hendricks County, Morgan County, runs until 4:45. It's for gusts up to 70 miles an hour. So these are considerable wind gusts that are going to be approaching the west side of the metro area. We're going to have to watch power outages as this line's closing in, and there's still the chance you could get a quick spin-up tornado within this line, although damaging wind continues to be our primary threat as this line's going off to the east very quickly.
And Ryan, like we said, this is going to be coming into the metro at the worst time, rush hour here, as we get into our Wednesday afternoon. It's going to be pretty messy here for rush hour this evening, so just letting everyone know, if you're listening to us at work or watching us on your app or our website, wherever you're at, if you have to do traveling in the metro area around rush hour is thick anyway, and then you throw in a severe warned storm, this is really going to gum up the works as we get into the early evening hours here. So this is looming back to the west, and we've got our sky cams here in downtown Indy looking back to the west, and we're going to capture this thing as it comes on in. But this goes, there's Terre Haute, goes all the way down to Evansville, and goes all the way up into northern Indiana, a whole line of wind-driven rain, wind, lightning. We're looking at our chat with our friends at the Weather Service, and we're getting reports from western Indiana of trees down, power outages, and a host of problems. One good thing today so far, we haven't had a confirmed tornado at this point that we know of in the state of Indiana. Now, the statewide total as of yesterday, I believe, per the Weather Service office in Indianapolis, was 55 for the entire year. And we haven't had anything too crazy from our radar perspective today confirming debris in the air or anything like that. But we've had some circulations, and this whole thing is a wall of wind-driven rain and lightning, Ryan. Let's pop on that lightning real quick.
Yeah.
And right now we are tracking, we are on the air right now, getting ready for all Indiana, and our tornado warning that we're following up here across the northern reaches of our area goes until 4:15. So that's the only tornado warning we have in play, but we're going to continue our coverage until that warning expires. That was up here for Cass County until 4:15. That storm, let's zoom back on in. This is beginning to march into Fulton County right here, right over Fulton right now. So this is pulling away. So at some point, we're going to start our 4 o'clock show, and then we'll have a little bit of weather. And then for our producers and folks involved with All Indiana, we will likely go back into that show as scheduled and then come back for some weather information during that broadcast. So that is how I think we're going to play this out. But right now, this storm up here towards Fulton is, as Ryan mentioned, beginning to lift out of our central Indiana coverage area. Again, tornado warning until 4:15. Fulton, Rochester, areas north and east of Logansport. The worst of the storm now is pulling into Fulton County. And I would say the worst of the wind is leading edge right here, where that tornado spin up potential would be up here towards Rochester.
I was hit by a semi-truck on I-69. The truck driver was going over 80 miles an hour when it happened. He broke several ribs and suffered a brain injury. We called Ken Nunn, and they signed us up from the hospital. The trucking company tried to say it wasn't their fault. Ken Nunn was able to prove the truck driver was speeding and caused the wreck. These companies have big insurance, and Ken Nunn got my dad an incredible settlement.
Call me. It's just that easy.
Over $1 billion collected for our clients.
Inflation is still driving up home repair costs. How are millions of homeowners saving money on unexpected bills? With Choice Home Warranty.
Is a new refrigerator in your budget? How about a replacement AC unit? I'm Ty Pennington. For many families, these costs can be catastrophic. That's why I'm a Choice Home Warranty customer.
Counties with thousands of outages, including locations around Terre Haute, over here into parts of Illinois, and we go up towards Lafayette, and we have over 10,000 customers. This is not individuals, this is just total customers without power, and this is just a good assumption of what we have out there. This is not everyone, but this just tells you the story. This map, if we animate this over the last 2 hours, you would see this light up like a Christmas tree here from west to east. And check this out. So as the storms come on in, our power outages go up and up. And I would say if you're in Indiana right now and you have yet to have a storm today, you will likely have some damaging wind potential or loss of power potential as this line of storms marches our way. So that's how it's been the last 2 hours, and we're about ready to have this come on into central Indiana. So let's go back to our radar right now and just reset the situation and just show you the line of storms. I think the worst of the weather is now over for you in Terre Haute. One thing that we will monitor are some flare-ups that could happen behind the line here, so that we're not totally out of the woods as far as additional rain or storms after this big line moves on through. But in the big picture, it looks like this is probably going to be, this line right here is probably going to be the main event today as we go throughout the course of our Wednesday. And this is coming into the metro area just at the worst time here. So western part of the city of Indianapolis down towards Martinsville, Greencastle, Terre Haute right here to your east. This is where we have some pretty intense activity right now. It's right over Cloverdale and Greencastle, blinding rain and some thunder and lightning. We're about ready to start All Indiana, and then we'll be coming on back for some more weather info.
From Wish TV, Indiana's only statewide TV news network, this is a Storm Track 8 weather alert.
Okay, I'm Chief Meteorologist Keith Gibson. We will continue our severe weather coverage here. Stay tuned. All Indiana will be coming up shortly because we are about ready to lose our one tornado warned storm now lifting into northern Indiana, but we want to just extend our coverage just a little bit longer here to massage the situation to make sure we don't get another rogue tornado warning right now. We are involved with our chat at our friends with our friends rather at the Weather Service, and we don't have any indication, Ryan, that we have any forthcoming warnings, do we? Tornado warnings?
No forthcoming warnings, but obviously, Keith, the concern here is going to be damaging wind. We're gusting with this severe thunderstorm you've been talking about approaching the metro area up to 70 miles an hour. So that is the main thing we're going to be tracking here pretty shortly.
And one thing I think what we should do here is let's do like a big long storm track here on this line and expand it into the metro area here and really time things out for folks for our evening plans here. So this storm is racing to the east. We've got some wind damage potential, maybe up to 70 miles per hour. This is moving towards central Indiana, And if we change up our cities just a little bit here, we'll be able to plot some of the other locations here, including downtown Indianapolis. But right now, Spencer 403, Danville 408, Pittsboro 413, Monrovia 414. This whole line is coming our way. Brownsburg by 418. And that's on the western and northwestern side of the metro. Zionsville by 426. And then downtown Indianapolis about 430. Plus or minus here. So that gives us about 30 minutes, and then that will be in, and it will be exiting the metro as we get deeper into rush hour. So if you have outdoor plans, if you have evening plans, if you have any plans whatsoever that involves you being outdoors here over the next hour in the Indianapolis metro area, we just want to let you know we have a severe thunderstorm, potential wind gusts 60 to 70, lots of lightning, blinding rain, potential power outages, and all the things that come with the severe thunderstorm. It's coming into central Indiana. Right now we don't have a tornado warning with it, but this is producing some blinding rain, and we're going to have some slow traffic and some probably some hydroplaning here, and we can sample some of these wind speeds near Greencastle and Cloverdale. We showed you the camera there from Brazil earlier. We're still expecting or still sampling some of these wind speeds just above ground level. Now, these storms are a little bit closer to the surface here, Ryan. So what elevation is this?
So what elevation we're kind of looking up and down the line is basically 1,500 to around 2,000 feet. So that's not too far off the ground at that point.
No, so definitely getting more of a realistic expectation of some of the wind speeds that could be coming on down to the ground. And that would be 50, 60, 70 perhaps, but at least 50 is a pretty good guesstimate for some of these strong storms. And this is 25 miles at least 50 miles per hour of some of these strong storms. This is about 25 miles southwest of the airport. And if these storms are moving at 45, 50 miles per hour, you know, we're going to get this, as we timed out, by 4:30 here into downtown Indianapolis. I think if we can probably go to one of our sky cams or two. You can bring up whichever one. I think we have them all moved back to the west from downtown here. And we'll be able to show maybe some darkening skies here on the western horizon. Just let me know if we have that. But we're going to monitor this here for the time being. This is
I think US 40 at State Road 59.
This is still the Logansport area, right? Okay, so we're out of Logansport. Can we bring up one of our tower cams here, or downtown cameras, or maybe our...
That or the Speedway camera.
The Speedway
and this
camera.
is going to start to look mean.
Okay, so this is from downtown. And we're looking back to the west, and it looks like we still have a little bit of sunshine here. But those are the thickening clouds, the ominous-looking clouds that will be coming on into your location here as this line approaches. It's going to get darker. It may look green. The storms will come on through. Well, a lot of rain, gusty wind, ferocious wind, and that's when you'll likely have some power outages here as we get deeper and deeper into the next hour here in the metro area. So, Ryan, this is a pretty ferocious storm here, and Stephen over there in the Weather Center, what do you think as this comes on into the metro?
Well, looking at lightning strikes first, I'm sure Stephen's been monitoring behind the scenes, but you have plenty of lightning strikes, and Keith was mentioning this earlier, which shows the storm system is holding together. What have you been kind of seeing, Stephen, with some of the stuff behind the scenes? Because I know you've been in our weather service chat. We have 320 lightning strikes in the last 5 minutes. What have you kind of seen?
Well, I've been noticing that these storms maintaining intensity as they march closer to the Indy Metro. And I just want to mention from the National Weather Service, our great friends in Indianapolis here, giving you up-to-date information and also with the environment as well. Now we're continuing to see buoyant low-level instability, basically, which is not a surprise. Then with the flow aloft and shear in general, it continues to support tornado threat as well, but wind continues to be main concern over the next couple of hours. Now the greatest threat will be associated with surges within the squall lines we talked about throughout the last couple of days with the tornado threat in general, and with discrete or semi-discrete shallow supercells over southern Indiana. Now the mid-level jet, which is about 3 miles up in the atmosphere, a speed maxima of that enhanced by the upstream low will actually enhance shear further over the next couple of hours. Now, one potential negative to a more robust tornado threat may be weakness in the overall turning to winds aloft and like poor venting with the storms as well.
You know, like while you're talking about that real quick, pop up our bigger picture of the satellite or the Illinois area. And just,
that's what I was going to say, because any mention in eastern Illinois, because I think this line might wipe us out for the most part. but it looks like we still have some showers and storms on the back end. And honestly, I think this is going to take all the juice. I do want to alert, looks like, Keith, we got a destructive severe thunderstorm warning.
Okay, so destructive severe thunderstorm warning now. This is going to keep us on the air for our extended coverage. Again, this is for destructive winds that could be up to, what, 80 miles per hour?
So a couple notes with this. We've had this a couple times this spring, and it depends where you are in central Indiana, but destructive severe thunderstorm warning is gusts to 80 miles an hour. So if you are in Morgan County, Monroe County, and Owen County, the warning runs until 4:45, but your phones, and depending on the county's policies, they're sounding the sirens. It just depends which county you are in, but your phones are going off as if it is a tornado warning. So that's probably all the racket you're hearing. But whenever you get gusts up to 80 miles an hour, that is just as serious as if there was a tornado on the ground, because Keith, the F0 tornado is 65, 85 miles an hour wind, so that's not too far off.
And the F0 tornado is nothing to sneeze at, but it's very localized. This is pretty broad, destructive, like wind potential here. And you know, we gave you that alert yesterday and the days before leading into today, so you should not be at all surprised that we have a line of strong storms coming into central Indiana. It started back to the west. We had to adjust the timing a little bit. But Ryan, let's go ahead and just poke around at some of these green values here, because this is coming into the southwestern part of the metro right now. Martinsville, Ellettsville, and Spencer, Freedom here, Worthington right along Highway 231, 60, 70, 80 miles per hour, as we were just discussing there with that destructive warning.
And look, some of these locations are no stranger to severe weather. We saw McCormick's Creek State Park, which is on the east side of Spencer, just a few years ago, get a very strong tornado. You have 70 to 80 mile an hour winds closing in on you. A couple weeks ago, May 16th, we had that tornado outbreak. That was a tornado near Linton and stretching into Monroe County. You're also in the destructive severe thunderstorm warning. So some of the same locations we've had severe weather over the last couple of years are now eyeing a straight line wind gusts of 80 miles an hour plus. So please take this seriously and take shelter as if it were a tornado warning, because anytime you get gusts up to 80 miles an hour, it's pretty serious.
It is, and that's going to cause some roof damage, some trees to come on down. I'm just looking at the latest observation from the airport. It's 86 degrees. Our dew point is 72. It is very hot. It is very muggy. It just feels like one of those severe weather days. If you've been out today, it doesn't take long to just get drenched in sweat. And now we're going to have the effects of this storm system coming on in, tapping into the fuel, the humidity, the upper level jet, and the low level jet, all of this weather stuff happening today to produce this, a destructive severe thunderstorm warning. Remind me again, Ryan, this goes until what time?
I believe here, let me click it on. I
just clicked it on real quick.
4:40.
4:45. So, and this just goes until 4:45. We are going to have more and more severe thunderstorm warnings this afternoon, but this is the strongest of the strong right now. Destructive severe thunderstorm warning for areas in the Monroe County area, really from Martinsville south and west. There's Highway 67, US 231, I-69, Bloomington. You are included in this warning. So locations south and west, there's Mooresville right here at the top of your screen. That is on the southwest side of the metro. So south and west, very strong wind punching into a very unstable atmosphere. And this is the big picture. Again, a line of wind-driven rain and problems coming your way. Lightning, power outages, trees coming on down, blinding rain, traffic problems. At the worst time, it's late in the afternoon, we're getting closer and closer to the evening rush, and we always have to watch out for little kinks along that line. So we are not totally discounting the tornado threat today, but where the bow is right here, on the apex of these little bow segments, that's where we have the strongest wind. But on the back side of those things, those little kinks, that's where we can get those little spin-ups. Fortunately, we don't have it right now, but can't rule it out.
And look, we have now 60 to 70 mile an hour winds moving into Hendricks County. Hendricks County is not included in the destructive severe thunderstorm warning, but these winds are going to be moving through the metro area. So we're about to get in on some serious winds here in the next half hour to hour as it's moving off into the metro area. Obviously watching Johnson County areas south if they get added to the destructive severe thunderstorm warning. We're looking west on our downtown camera, and at this point we're going to start to eventually see a probably nasty looking shelf cloud that is on the way through the metro area. So this is going to be quick hitting. This line as a whole has been moving quicker to the northeast or off north on the line, round as it's moving into the metro area, moving east-northeast 45, 50 miles an hour. So this is going to be on top of us pretty quickly here.
Yeah, and just to let folks know, that tornado warning storm that we were dealing with earlier has shifted to our north. So now our main concentration is going to be on this wall of destructive wind coming into the metro here. And if we could, Ryan, just do another one of these broad storm tracks here to let folks know that we have this damaging wind that could be 60, 70, 80 miles per hour coming into the metro area. This is not too far away. This is going to be blasting on through. And on the back side of it, the sun's coming back out again. We're not really going to lose a lot of the humidity. It's still going to be on the muggy side going into this evening. But one thing that we have to worry about this time of year is power outages. We're getting them, and we don't know when those power outages may be reconnected, or that power may be reconnected to your home. And we have a big heat wave coming this weekend with sweltering heat, temperatures in the 90s and the heat index in the low 100s this weekend. So power outages that could extend long will become a problem. But right now, this is the near-term problem. And we've got Danville 413 basically right now. Hopefully you're sheltering. Brownsburg 420 for the entire line of storms, the strongest of which is down here on the southern part of this, but we're just broad brushing the warning here. Mooresville 424, the Speedway 430, 429, Butler, downtown Indy about 430, 435, and that gives us about 15, 20 minutes. It's going to be pretty quick. It's going to be in and it's going to be out. It's not going to last all evening. This is going to last maybe, the worst of it's probably only going to last 5 minutes, and then it's going to be raining and breezy, but the worst of the wind is right on the leading edge here. So again, a wall of wind and rain coming to the Indianapolis metro, destructive severe thunderstorm warning for the southwestern part of the Indy metro, south and west of Mooresville. But this whole thing could be capable of producing 60-mile-per-hour winds. This area down here that we're highlighting with the orange flashing box, including these areas from Cloverdale down towards Ellettsville, Bloomington, Martinsville, this is where we would have that enhanced, maybe destructive wind, 70 or 80 miles per hour. So a slight difference there, but Ryan, it doesn't mean 60 is not going to cause damage. We're going to get some issues here.
Yeah, and look, I get it. We don't have a tornado warning right now.
Right.
But you got to take it as seriously. Sometimes these situations kind of pan out worse if you have more areas getting these wind gusts. And the longer we have this line that continually produces 80-mile-an-hour gusts, the longer we could get some power outages in our area. Now, we've had a couple destructive severe thunderstorm warnings this year. Do want to point out the tornado threat is not zero. You still could get a quick spin-up tornado embedded in this line at any point. Many of these severe thunderstorm warnings along this line have this thing called a tour possible tag on it, where there is some slight rotation, just not enough to go with a tornado warning. But the focus needs to be on the damaging wind, which is just about to get into the metro area really here in the next half hour to minute. All right, I think we're going to take our camera at Rockville Road in Avon. So this is 465 at mile marker 12.9.
And just look how dark that sky is there.
Looking awfully mean, and obviously Keith's been mentioning this, but we're about to get into rush hour, so this is not going to be good for those on the roadways. We're going to be watching power outages pretty quickly here if these gusts continue to march east and include more of our areas. But you can see we have plenty of people on the roads. We'll start to get some alerts and hopefully get the word out to some of these people, especially if we do happen to get another destructive severe thunderstorm warning that potentially is issued for the metro, although right now we're below that criteria.
Yeah, for sure. I just envision a snarled mess out there on the interstates here in the Indy metro for the commute this evening. So if you don't have to be out over the next hour here around Indianapolis, just ride out the storm wherever you're at, and then you'll be fine, hopefully, in a sheltered area. But there's going to be some strong wind and big-time problems if you are caught out in this. Blinding rain, and there's tons of lightning in this, and of course the power outages, and if you're just driving, it's just going to be very hard to see, and you don't know how fast the car in front of you is going. You want to give yourself distance. You don't want to hydroplane. So the best thing is just to ride this out, not on the highway. But again, severe thunderstorm warning, destructive potential here from Martinsville down to Ellettsville. And this is why we are extending our coverage here on Wish TV and wishtv.com, our social media apps as well, to make you aware that we have some destructive wind potential. And again, this is closer and closer to ground level. The closer we are sampling these numbers to the airport radar right here, the more likely some of these numbers or wind speeds are reaching ground level. and there could be 60 to 80 miles per hour wind speeds coming on down. We hope we're not getting near 90, but that's not out of the realm of possibilities today. As long as we're sampling wind speeds like this, this is a big problem, and we envision more and more power problems here, trees coming on down through the metro, and especially right now, the southern and southwestern parts of the city down towards Martinsville and Bloomington, and this is where we have the destructive warning until 4:45. So this is a big, messy problem coming into the central part of Indiana, and at the worst time for rush hour here. So that is the current wind speed. Let's go ahead and pop on our radar, our standard view. And like Ryan was just mentioning, the tornado threat is not zero. These little kinks in the line could spin up at some point. Right now, as of 4:17, we have no tornado warnings in effect across our area, but we have this destructive warning for high wind speeds that could cause wind damage. That's the flashing box here. But even areas up to the north that are not warned for the destructive warning, we still are dealing with likely wind issues, and that goes out towards Plainfield, Avon, there's Brownsburg right here. So all of these areas are likely susceptible to some sort of high wind gusts that could lead to wind damage there, Ryan. So there's Monrovia, and there's Danville right here. Again, this is coming right up into the city, Mooresville, Highway 70 or I-70, not where you want to be right now on this late Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah, so Keith, we're just talking to the weather service in their chat room. We have a surge of winds that is just in Hendricks County, north of Monrovia. That's where you're gusting 60 to 70 miles an hour. And you're looking at our radar estimates. That is only, the radar readings we're getting is only 500 feet off the ground. So there's a good chance you're getting some of these wind gusts surging to the ground on the southwest side of the metro area. And we're only 12 miles from the airport. So we're going to get an exact reading as this moves into the airport. But if you're in Plainfield, Mooresville, even Avon, south side of Avon, you're going to get some of these gusts pushing into your area pretty quickly. All right, we're going to take US 40 at Ronald Reagan on the southwest side, and too far away. This camera is not too far away from some of those gusts moving in very quickly to this exact location where the cars are on the road.
Right, so pavement's dry. It looks like we have, it doesn't look like a classic shelf cloud there, but there's definitely a boundary there on the left side of your screen there above that FedEx truck right there. So that would be the leading edge. Once that comes on in, those trees are really going to be whipping around, and we're going to have some blinding rain. So just heads up, these storms are coming into the metro area, and we were just looking at this wall of wind coming our way. Ryan doing a nice job tracking these storms, lifting to the northeast at about 55. Plainfield, basically, a few minutes. Downtown by 4:30, 4:40, and then Lawrence at 4:50 out on the northeast side of town here. So this whole thing is going to be punching down through over the next 30, 45 minutes. We're getting the roughest weather now, just west of Martinsville, just to the northwest of Bloomington. Very strong wind, and the brighter the greens here just illustrate where we have the fastest moving wind coming towards you, coming towards the radar site, coming towards the Indianapolis metro area. Let's pop on our shear rate here real quick, Ryan. I bet you this is lined out pretty good, and that will clean that up. So this really just shows you that little stripe on the leading edge. This is where we would have some of that destructive wind. And Ellettsville, Martinsville, let's just maybe zoom on down real close to the street level here. Just call out a couple of things. What do you got?
All right, I just got a phone alert, so I'm assuming we got a destructive severe thunderstorm warning for downtown.
Okay, so
so your phones are going off. In some counties, they do sound the tornado sirens for this, but destructive severe thunderstorm warning for downtown Indianapolis, Marion County, Hendricks County, and far northern Morgan County until 5 o'clock. Keith, it's really warned for that area we were just talking about with that surge of winds.
Right here. So this whole mass right here, Monrovia to Clayton to Danville, right there, those are the destructive winds coming into Avon, Plainfield, Mooresville. The airport was right here, Speedway, downtown Indianapolis right there. So this little corridor right here is shifting to the northeast, really I-70. Interstate 70, just southwest of the airport, to areas to the northeast. And again, we're looking at I-70 out towards Ronald Reagan and the Ameriplex Parkways, looking back to the southwest. You can see on the right side of your screen, that would be the incoming storm. Traffic still moving, pavement still dry. folks out here, be prepared. We're going to have some strong wind. Now, the camera right there is bobbing around just a little bit. We've had some gradient wind out ahead of the storm today. It's breezy, it's warm and humid. But once that storm comes our way, we're really going to have that pavement switch to wet, and of course we'll have blinding rain. So we were looking from about here, looking back down towards 70, and the strongest wind there on the right side of your screen that we just showed you. So destructive severe thunderstorm warning now including Hendricks County, Marion County, downtown Indianapolis, most of the metro area now under some sort of warning or destructive severe thunderstorm warning until 5 o'clock this afternoon because of the strong wind now coming in. It's just west of the airport, west of 465 rather, and this is going to cause us problems here as we've been discussing. And again, spin up tornado potential, not zero, but you know, Ryan Eagle Eye over there.
Yeah.
Look at that. So
we do have some rotation being noted. Cells merging with another cell, and the rotation starting to climb right near Pittsboro. So this is just north and west of Brownsburg in Hendricks County.
This doesn't mean we're going to have a tornado, but we've said, Ryan mentioned this a few minutes ago, the tornado threat is not zero.
Tornado warning.
Okay,
tornado warning. There you go.
Tornado warning. Is it because of this storm right here?
Yep.
Okay.
And Keith, this is one of the spots not too far away. We did have a tornado. Stephen was with me on coverage. Stephen, this was April 2nd, and I believe it was a little bit further to the south and east.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was just before I started here. I was watching your coverage from Green Bay, Wisconsin, the Brownsburg storm.
Jump there.
And there is...
Looks like it backed off a touch.
Okay, but there is our new tornado warning now. This goes until 4:45. This is just adding insult to injury with the ongoing wind threat coming into the metro area right now. So we have a possible area of rotation right here. And this is, let's zoom on down to some of these streets north and east of there, Ryan, if you could real quick. So that is Highway 267 right here, I believe.
Yeah, I can get you. State Road 267, East County Road 1000's right here. So it's just about to go over State Road 267.
Okay. And so if you're in this area, this little notch, this little thing right here, this couplet, this little circulation is quickly advancing to the northeast. There's Royalton right here. So areas north and east of 267, this is east of Pittsboro and southwest of Royalton here, north of Brownsburg, right there, that circulation moving out towards Zionsville. That is a little bit of rotation. Not a lot, but it's just enough, and it doesn't take a lot to produce one of these brief spin-ups. And if you get one of these things, you know it. And that's why we're on the air here, giving you the latest and greatest information here. So tornado warning continues until 4:45. Ryan?
I think we have a camera in Brownsburg, or near Brownsburg along 74. So this is the actual lines moving in. The tornado warning, I believe, from this camera is further off to the north, but you can see the camera is just shaking back and forth very quickly. And it looks like, did we lose the signal there? All right, we got back the signal. There are people on the roads, but be very cautious on the roadways right now.
Yeah, just be forewarned and just use your common sense here. Don't go out if you don't have to. If you're out there right now, driving, listening to our broadcast on a device, make sure you just pull off and allow the storm to pass. That is, you can notice the wind speed right here. So the wind's there in the foreground. Those trees are moving around pretty good. Tornado warning now for these areas that we were just mentioning. Now, they're
kind of backed off.
Yeah, it's backed off a little bit, but this is a fast mover. It's very small. The Northwest Metro, this is 865, there's 65, Royalton, and this is just to the southeast of Brownsburg. It'd be that right there if we're going to have some sort of tornado that could occur. That would be the most likely spot right here on the northwest side of the metro. So in addition to the destructive wind we have been talking about for the western and southwestern metro, we are dealing with this possible couplet, small circulation, which is about 2.5 miles southwest of I-65 here, where 65 and 865 come together.
Unfortunately, these are some of the same areas that were warned with that April 2nd tornado. It looks like it's a little bit further off to the north and west. The rotation's still there. It's radar indicated. We got nothing to confirm it's on the ground, but it did look like it was tighter a scan or two ago. It's under 3 miles from getting to 65 and then eventually 865. Zionsville needs to start taking this seriously, being your safe space. It's moving off to the northeast pretty quickly at about 45, 50 miles an hour.
Right, so we have to assume that when we're showing you this product right here, this data is a little bit delayed. So most likely the circulation is closer to 65, 865. Right now you can see our updated scan. So really Zionsville and these locations up here between the 865, 65 split there, junction, and Zionsville, right up in here, this is where we have that best circulation. Again, tornado warning continues until 4:45. Real quick, we're going to back out this radar view just a little bit. I'm going to show you the destructive wind we have elsewhere coming into the metro. We're going to come back to this tornado warning. Can't let down our guard here. There's another one of those little kinks there, but if nothing else, it's too close to the radar.
That's what I was going to say. We're getting close enough to the radar site where you might struggle to get some of these readings. But
yes.
Keith, just eyeballing it, just like you, it looks like we may have a kink in the line also near Plainfield. No tornado warning out just yet, but we're about to get a wind reading because it's going to move over the airport.
Right, we're going to get rocked really good here. And one other side note here, as these storms come on in and pass right over the radar dome, these storms are producing a lot of wet weather. We hope the radar stays up and doesn't go down with these winds, but we would expect the signal to degrade a little bit. So as the storms go right over the site, which is right here at the airport, we're likely going to have some of our colors get muted just a little bit. It may not look as intense. Some of our values that we're showing you could be decreasing a little bit. Don't assume that's actually happening. Just assume that storms are still strong. The radar beam's going to struggle a little bit as the heavy storm, wet storm with all of this rain comes on through and punches right over the radar site. So it doesn't look like we have anything showing up here on debris tracker, the debris tracker there, Ryan, which is good.
Yeah, which is good.
But there's some noise in there. But that for sure is that little circulation that is still with us at this time.
I do want to mention, I'm starting to get a bunch of texts and pictures from family. We have a mean shelf cloud that's kind of moving into downtown. So I don't know if we can quickly pull up
there
or down.
It is. Okay.
And there you go. So shelf cloud, very ominous sight with these showers and storms closing in on the metro area. Again, gusts to 80 miles an hour possible here in Indianapolis. We're just about to get a reading as it goes over the airport basically any minute. I know we have Steven and Drew and our students behind the scenes. I'm sure they'll get us a good picture from the ground level of what this kind of looks like. But nasty line of storms that's kind of coming into our area. Damaging wind is still the main threat, but just like we saw with Hendricks County, you could easily get a quick spin up potential of rotation. And we've had that rotation in Hendricks County, although that rotation appears to have backed off in the last couple scans, and hoping we continue with that trend. Let's get back to radar, because now obviously we have the heavy stuff, Keith, which is closing directly in on downtown.
It is, and I just want to let you know, photos at wishtv.com. If you get some videos, some photos, pass it along to us. We'll try to get it on the air when we can. Make sure you have your app on your phone too. We're giving you the latest information. We got our live stream going. So just stay connected and make sure your devices are charged, folks, because we're losing power in many spots here as these storms come on in. Just want to make you aware that we're with you here this afternoon, soon to be evening, as these storms come on in. And if you lose power at your house, you will still have your mobile device if it is charged. And you can follow us there on our live stream, on our apps, also on our website, wishtv.com. So this is an extensive mess coming into the metro area. This is now getting into Marion County. We've got the circulation. We've got a wall of wind-driven rain. And quickly, let's go back to that tiny circulation.
Yeah.
Put you on the spot there, Ryan.
No problem.
We still have.
Looks like it backed off a touch,
it did.
though, which is good.
Technically, we still have a severe thunderstorm or a tornado warning, but this thing is just gone.
Yeah, look at it when it was over 74 near Pittsburgh.
Yeah, right there.
Right there.
Right there.
And then it just continued to lose steam, thankfully, because these are very populated areas once you get into Zionsville and parts of Whitestown.
So right now it looks like the imminent tornado threat that has pulsed down. So we technically still have a warning. The big concern is going to be the wall of wind-driven rain coming into the metro area right now. Moving right towards the airport. We're awaiting the observation there at the airport to see how fast the wind speed is going to be. And if we can just take any one of our speedway cams or downtown cam, our tower cam, whatever, and look back to the west. So there's that shelf cloud, Ryan. Check it out. And so there's the leading edge. That is from our Speedway cam looking back to the west. Look how green and black that looks. You've got that shelf cloud, and then behind it, we'll have that burst of wind with all of the torrential rain associated with the storm. So it really looks menacing as it comes on in. And then we'll have the storm, and then we will be able to be in recovery mode after the storm. So that is coming on in. Tons of people still out. It's a bustling Wednesday afternoon, soon to be evening, and I'm sure a lot of you have some evening plans, but that's a live view here at 4:31. If you were expecting to see all Indiana this afternoon, we are extending our weather coverage today because of destructive severe thunderstorm warnings. Also, some spin-up tornado potential. Again, out towards Zionsville, we still technically have a small sliver of a tornado warning, but the big concern, as we've lost that circulation for the time being, the big concern is this wall of wind-driven rain now moving into the western side of Marion County. And here's 465 right here, and there's 865, 65, and the city proper is about ready to get rocked. You're getting hit hard. Brownsville, Avon, Plainfield, Mooresville, areas down here west and south with some very heavy rainfall, some wind, lightning, and likely power outages, Ryan.
And something to be cautious of. There is still a chance we could get a kink in this line, because basically the line now is directly over top the airport. It's so close to our radar site, it's tough to see sometimes those exact readings down to the surface. So we're going to be watching that any moment now. We're going to get that wind gust report coming out of the airport here in Indianapolis. I'm sort of going to throw up velocity, and this is exactly what Keith and I have been touching on. It's tough to get readings so close to the airport at this point, but just off to the south and west in Hendricks County, we had consistent gusts, 60, 70 miles an hour, just about 500 feet off the ground. Going back to that tornado warning in Boone County and parts of Hendricks, far northwestern Marion County, runs until 4:45, but we'll see if the Weather Service does extend that. We've noticed the rotation drop off there, but really need to monitor the wind threat here in the next really 15, 20 minutes as it closes in downtown Indianapolis, right in the heart of rush hour here in a moment.
Yeah, and just as a side note, I'm looking up north across northern Indiana right now.
Yeah.
And south of Goshen, we have a circulation that has prompted a tornado warning up that way. And, you know, for a couple of scans ago, that rotation up there looked pretty intense for the northern part of the line, which is that storm cell here. So it's in far northern Indiana. This is an extensive severe weather outbreak today. You know, it's summertime. We get squall lines this time of year, and this is not out of the realm of possibilities. Oftentimes, these would be in the evening or at night. A big complex would roll out of the plains, and we would have some nocturnal storms during the overnight, a big batch of storms. This is pretty extensive because there's an area of low pressure back to the northwest near Chicago, and the atmosphere is just so unstable. And this is coming through at the right time of day for big storms, the wrong time of day for us as humans down here at the ground to deal with it. But a wall of wind-driven rain now coming into the metro area here. So let's zoom back down. Yeah, what do you have?
We just got an airport wind gust of 71.
Okay, so airport wind gusts 71 miles per hour. We gave you that alert just a few minutes ago. Hopefully you are heeding these warnings. Right here, 71 miles per hour, and the line of storms is coming into the city. So let's go to our tower cam, just Speedway Tower, whatever. And there it is. It's just looming back to the west, and we're looking from downtown. Now, tomorrow evening, we have the Pacers Game 6. Thank goodness it's not this evening. We should have no weather issues for tomorrow evening. But back to the west, that is a threatening sky. So if you're just tuning on in, expecting all Indiana, I'm going to reset the situation here. It's 4:35. We are covering destructive severe thunderstorms here in the Indianapolis metro area right now.
I just got a word from producer. They're sounding the sirens here in downtown.
And you had mentioned, you know, some areas will sound sirens, some will not for destructive warnings.
It does cause a little bit of confusion, but a lot of our counties have the rule. And Keith, did you just see that? I think we had a power flash on the west side of that camera.
Okay, so let's.
I don't know if we were recording on that, but I saw something flash on the west side of that camera. Just if you're looking past the JW. So
yeah, on the northwest side, on the left side of the screen. So we'll keep that up. That is that would be underneath the shelf cloud there, and literally this is a wall of wind-driven rain that could have wind gusts between 70 to 80 miles per hour. We've had that gust of 71 miles per hour at the airport. A live view here from downtown Indianapolis. We'll keep an eye on this real quick. Let's go back to radar. Don't want to let down our guard. And we have some powerful storms punching on in. We're looking from downtown right here back to the west. And you know, if we go to our speedway camera again,
it's probably nasty.
We're probably looking at some nasty conditions. And check it out. Not too long ago,
holy cow,
we had nothing here, but now we have the camera bobbing around. We've got some wind-driven rain, and this is going to, Ryan, this is going to cross the entire city, the entire metro.
Yeah, see, here's the unfortunate part. It's one built-in line. So the entire line, everyone's getting in on some portion of the line as it's just going through the metro area. And as Keith was mentioning, it's just a wall of wind and rain. And we saw the strongest wind gusts already on the west side of the metro area, about to get here in downtown Indianapolis any second. We had a gust of 71. We'll see if we get an updated wind gust from the Weather Service. But the reason they issue these sirens is they almost want you to treat this like a tornado warning. I know it does cause some confusion, but when you get the gusts 80 miles an hour plus, at that point, it's weekend tornado strength.
It is.
So there's no shocker that they have kind of gone forward with sounding those sirens with that rule in downtown Indy.
Yeah, no, it is the equivalent of a widespread weak tornado, and an EF0 tornado at bare minimum is really tiny usually. It's very localized. It's not going to cause a lot of widespread damage or power problems or tree issues, but this is just a solid wall of destructive wind potential. And it's going to cause some widespread issues here, folks. So just let this pass, and then we can deal with issues after the storms move on through. A friendly reminder, if you notice down lines, assume they are live and not completely without power, because you don't want to have any issues with an active down power line. And we are looking at numerous outages across the state today with all of these leafed out trees, because we're now into summertime and those trees are coming on down. And we are looking at major issues here. So Indianapolis downtown, let's go back to our tower cam here real quick, and it's getting closer and closer to our vantage point. There's the JW Marriott, and literally within just a minute or so, we will likely have our view blocked from this storm as it comes on in. So skies are dark. This is not going to last all evening. We will have the storm front come on through. There's actually a lot of sunshine now across the western part of the state. 2 hours ago, when we were beginning our coverage here with the first tornado warning out towards the western part of the state line, we had the storms move from there to here in about 2 hours. And now they're getting the sun, and we will eventually have sun this evening. Check out how dark it's getting right now here. So maybe we can dual box this here if possible, and maybe get like a radar and sky cam.
It's literally just about to, the peak gusts are just about to move into downtown. So yeah, I don't know if we can two box radar and the downtown camera, but the peak of the winds is right on our doorstep downtown. And it'll be interesting to watch this camera.
And this is just going to be copied and pasted all across central Indiana right now as this line of storms comes on through. So right now, the worst of the weather, we can go back to our radar real quick, and just want to make you aware that the line of storms is now punching into downtown, and we have that ferocious wind that is associated with it, downpours. I can hear the thunder now here inside the building. And this is a pretty well-insulated building, and when we can hear thunder here inside the studio, you know it must be pretty loud out there, and a lot of thunder and lightning, of course, occurring across the region. But you get west towards Avon now, and you're on the back side of it. So, Ryan,
something I just want to quickly mention before we probably see plenty of power outages across the area. We are live on Facebook, and we are also live on YouTube, I believe. So if you do lose power and lose the ability to see us over our broadcast, we are still streaming elsewhere. And I'm assuming we're going to get plenty of power outage reports when you have 80-mile-an-hour wind gusts on our doorstep.
Yeah, for sure. And we are here until these storms are done. They're moving pretty quick. So right now we are still estimating that the storms will be out of our hair totally by about 8 o'clock at the latest. Hopefully sooner than that. The tornado watch continues until 8 o'clock. But Indianapolis, let's zoom out just a little bit, Ryan, and just show you this from Zionsville to downtown to areas down to the south. We just have a big burst of wind and rain coming our way. Destructive storm potential. You notice the flashing tornado warning box. That really, at this point, is not a sizable concern.
All right, I think we should take our camera because we're really starting to hear it at our station. So we're two-boxing radar with our downtown camera, which is pointed straight to the west. The worst of the wind is on our doorstep, moving directly through downtown. Not the greatest time if you do have friends who are potentially leaving work here in downtown Indianapolis. And that does include up to Carroll, Fishers, Southside, Greenwood. Maybe just tell them to wait another 20, 30 minutes as this just goes through, because this is not going to be a fun situation to be on the roadways. I'm kind of looking at our traffic cameras in the background here.
Yeah.
And that's not a spot you want to be. I don't know if we can switch out one of those cameras, but you can see a lot of people on the roadways just slamming on their brakes.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty ugly there.
There
this
you go, we have it
afternoon.
up.
Okay, so this is 65.
At West Street.
At West Street, yeah. So just look at the slowdown there. Now this is the beginning of rush hour, and it could be thick anyway, but now we're throwing in a destructive severe storm into the mix here. So it's going to be pretty messy here for the next little while here. As we've been mentioning, you should probably heed our warnings, heed our advice, and just stay off the highways for the time being and let this thing pass. Blinding rain, possible destructive wind. You know, power lines could come on down, and then if those block some highways, that's going to gum up the works a little bit later as well.
Some of the ones just outside the Wish TV.
You saw sparks outside?
So,
okay.
And
so
we saw some of those power flashes almost in the distance when we were sawing it approaching our area. So, yeah, some serious action.
And, you know, so power outages are a big concern today. And then the building heat after today is going to be an ongoing theme. So we will have tens of thousands of outages by the end of this afternoon. And we will hope that we can get those outages back in place before the heat really intensifies this weekend. And Ryan's doing a good job over there driving the radar, showing the power outages.
I was just going to say, we have quite a bit of power outages. Our behind-the-scenes people are working pretty well, and it looks like we have over 70,000 people across the state without power. So it's kind of just pull up. Obviously, Indianapolis, it's going to be delayed, but Greencastle and Hendricks County, where the peak of the line went through, kind of shows you. But in total, across the state, we have over 70,000 people without power. And a lot of this is delayed info. So we have the line that's pushing into some of our most populated areas. So Indianapolis, 500 people without power. That number is going to tremendously climb likely here in the next half hour to hour once we get those reports.
And just for reference, last night we had a few storms in the state. I looked at the power outage map last night about 11 o'clock, and statewide we had, I think, about 2,000 outages, most across far northern Indiana. Now, today with the actual event, we've really ramped things up as far as the outages as expected. We gave you the alert not too long ago, last couple of days, this morning, and now here comes the storms right now marching through Indy and Marion County, beginning to punch out towards Lawrence and Fishers, Noblesville, Anderson, the northeast side, Greenwood, Greenwood areas down here towards Shelbyville, along 74, 65, and then east towards Greenfield. So the eastern counties, you're about ready to get into this. Areas back to the west, Brazil, Newcastle, or Greencastle rather, you're already out of the fray. So things are improving. This is not going to last too long, but it's a fast moving line and it's going to be ripping on through Bloomington. You're getting hit right now, Indy, and areas back to the north as well. So it's really hard hitting where it's hitting right now. So strong storms. And, you know, if you're on the highways right now, it is pretty messy. Maybe we can take that traffic camera again. Ryan, what do you have?
Well, I was also going to add two things here. Tornado warning has expired, the one that was including Hendricks County and Boone County, the one that went through Brownsburg that was radar indicated the entire time, and we have a new severe thunderstorm warning to the south. But you're once again looking at 65 at West Street and MLK Street, and obviously it's going to be a slow go if you are out there. I did want to mention, if you are traveling 65 south of Indianapolis, the line hasn't reached locations in Johnson County or, say, Bartholomew County. Even if you're traveling 74 to Shelbyville, all those areas have yet to see the line of storms get through. Just know it's on the way and going to be pushing into your area as well, even though you're seeing all the action in the metro area right now.
And I just saw a report of a 63 mile per hour wind gust there at the Indianapolis Executive Airport, 63 miles per hour. So these storms are pretty ferocious and marching on through at the wrong time of day. So that is a live view 65 at West Street here. And the storms are marching through, and that traffic is getting slower and slower by the second as the storms continue to march on through. So right now, The only destructive severe thunderstorm warning we have is for the one marching through Marion County, and it's this part of the storm really from downtown north, but we still have these little kinks in the line here, and any one of those could cause some issues at some point. We don't have classic signs of any imminent tornado threat right now, but really the big story at this point, you can never rule out a spin-up tornado with this setup, but we have to all be prepared for some sort of wind damage or wind issues associated with these strong winds, as far as power problems, trees coming down, bad traffic, flooding with the intense rainfall, and a lot of lightning in this too. We have tons of lightning in this, and that can cause some power disruption as well if it happens to hit a transformer or something like that. So wind, lightning, big issues as far as our area right now.
I wonder if we can pull up our traffic camera, because Keith, look at the difference in just, what was it, 5-10 minutes since we checked it?
Right.
You can barely see anything, and people are just slamming on their brakes each direction. This is, again, the same camera look we were just looking at moments ago. The line now right over top, 65 at West Street and MLK Street. And not a good situation.
No. And it's 4:47. This is summertime. It looks like night, basically, at twilight with headlights on and all that. So the atmosphere today, folks, is juiced up. Our humidity levels, the moisture content in the atmosphere is so thick that we are getting a lot of rain to be falling from these clouds. And, this is not going to last too long, because we'll have the storm that'll be coming in, it'll be out. And I can guarantee you, in just probably if we keep watching this for another 10 minutes, things will be improving from where they are right now. But they've gone downhill in the last 10 minutes. So Ryan, you're doing a storm track here.
Yeah, I'm pulling up our area. So this is likely where we have the strongest winds still embedded, and about to move into some more populated areas. So we got Fishers at 451, Noblesville 451. That's less than 5 minutes. It's right on top of you. You're probably seeing that mean-looking shelf cloud, which is directly overhead. I'm trying to get the locations in the frame there. Ball State at 531, Anderson also included at 513. So these are where our strongest winds are likely embedded in the line, where we've seen multiple gust reports of 70 miles an hour, and we're warned up to 80 miles an hour, at least here in Indianapolis. The new severe thunderstorm warning off to the north and east is for gusts up to 70 miles an hour.
Okay, so not quite as bad, but still pretty ferocious here, and we just can't let down our guard here, because these storms are still pretty intense, and they're still moving into a pretty unstable atmosphere, with our temperatures in the mid 80s out ahead of the line of storms, and those dew points in the low to mid 70s. So there's still plenty of fuel all the way into eastern Indiana and Ohio for this line of storms to continue eating away at. Now the question is, will they continue to remain intense for the rest of the afternoon? We just have to wait and see. We assume they will, but we can always hope that they will weaken just a little bit. All of this lightning right here, it's a problem. Now, over the last couple of scans, I can say things have pulsed down a little bit across part of the line there, but still pretty intense over Bloomington in terms of lightning, and also from Indianapolis to the north towards Kokomo. We've lost some of that lightning, so maybe, just maybe, we're losing some of the storm strength, but it's still a pretty ferocious line of activity here. So there's Bloomington, Columbus, Shelbyville, Indianapolis, Muncie. If you haven't had a storm yet, you're going to get something out of this, and if you've already had this, you're basically, I don't want to say you're done. There's still a chance for a rogue shower storm later on this evening and tonight, maybe even into tomorrow morning, but we're treating this currently as the main event as it continues to march on through. And Ryan, look, you're showing the tornado watch there. That's been trimmed out. It's
getting dropped for our areas to the west. So as Keith was mentioning, we do have some all clears. It includes Vigo County, basically all the way up to Tippecanoe County. It does include the cities of Crawfordsville, Lafayette, Terre Haute. These were all locations that did see the line basically producing the 60-mile-an-hour plus wind gusts at least through those areas, but those areas have been dropped now from the tornado watch.
Which is a good sign, because that watch had been in effect until 8 o'clock. We assumed that there would be some storms, and this looks like it's going to be the main batch.
Yep.
And the fact that we're getting some counties to be dropped off. Now, that's a positive sign. The counties are being dropped off, but I do want to give you a little safety note here as we are dealing with these storms. Now, look where the storms are now, And look at where we are still getting some lightning strikes. This is back towards Crawfordsville, west and northwest of Greencastle. We're getting these strikes that can occur well behind the active line. So don't think that you're totally out of the danger zone once the actual rain stops, because the shield of clouds is pretty extensive here, and we can get these little lightning rogue strikes. You may have heard that phrase, bolt out of the blue. Well, we don't necessarily have blue skies yet in some of these spots here, but we're getting lightning strikes that can occur. So if you're thinking about having a barbecue or maybe doing some damage cleanup, there's still a potential for some lightning on the backside, well behind the actual storm front right now. So that's a little safety tip for you as we go through the course of the event. As long as you can hear thunder, in theory, you can be struck by lightning. So as long as you can hear thunder, you are in some sort of storm danger there. But these little bows here, Ryan, check it out.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to just touch on here. We now have some reports of, or we have a report of a 65-mile-an-hour wind gust in Tipton County. So even the northern fringes of this line are still packing a punch, even though we're not getting the best radar readings when you're sort of looking at the velocity scan. Let's see if we can bounce back in. And
we just assume there's got to be some pretty ferocious wind in there.
Yeah, I'm sure we're going to get a reading here. It's going to be, well, now we're starting to get better readings up there. But this northern fringe of the line is not out of the woods yet either, even though we're not seeing as many lightning strikes with that part of the line compared to southern parts of it.
And just a little side note, sometimes these little storm cells out ahead of the main line have to be watched. Like if we were in a really tornadic prone type environment today, we would definitely be watching out for some of these rogue storms out ahead of it. Never say never with storms, but right now that doesn't really like to be too ferocious. But in the springtime, and when we have those major systems coming on through, those could be localized supercells. Don't really have that going today. This is really just a solid line. And this is the southern part of the line, Bloomington right here, Bedford. And, you know, I was looking at some observations, Ryan, from some reporting sites here that have had rain for most days of the month of June. And here we have another day with storms.
All right, something to mention within this line. Around Bedford, there is some rotation that's starting to pick up. As we mentioned, tornado threat isn't completely over. Embedded within this line, we still could get a quick spin-up tornado. And obviously, many of these areas now that we're looking off to the south, that is where we've been hard hit this year. Columbus, especially in Bartholomew County, the line of storms is yet to get in your area. You're under a severe thunderstorm warning for 70-mile-an-hour winds until 5:15. And of course, we still have severe thunderstorm warning in Jackson County until 5:30. Stephen, you were going to add something from the Weather Service?
Yeah, I got a few things to mention about, along with adding that piece of information about the rotation in Lawrence County. Got 6-inch diameter limb down at Arlington and Thompson in Marion County at 4:51 p.m. Also a spotter report in your 10th-inch shade limb, Marion County. This is the city's east side. Measured wind gusts is 67 miles per hour. Also, too, in Martinsville, Morgan County, trained storm spotters reported damaging winds gusts of reports from 60 to 70 mile per hour gusts, 8.5-inch limbs down.
Okay.
So, like we talked about, the main threat being wind. Wind damage can be as extensive in general, more than tornado damage at times, so it covers a wider area. So this is why we say sometimes treat these warnings like they're tornado warnings.
Yeah, I know people tend to see that like you don't have the tornado warning and the threat's not there, but otherwise, let's just take graphics full here. So here's that line of showers and storms. We are still seeing the uptick in the strength, I'd say, on the southern flank of this line. This is where we're seeing the most lightning strikes. And within the cells, at least in Johnson County, lightning strikes has sort of dropped off. The only destructive severe thunderstorm warning we have left is included for Marion County, which is set to expire here in 6 minutes. And what the Weather Service has done is they've extended the severe thunderstorm warning for Madison County. So Anderson, that's on your way. Hancock County until 5 o'clock. We might get a new warning now that's going to be shifted further off to the east. But obviously, you have a lot of action in some very populated areas on our city's north side.
For sure, and it's taken about 2 hours, 2.5 hours to march from the state line to here. We're hearing thunder here. Yeah,
that was pretty loud.
Pretty loud. So there's a lot of thunder and lightning in this, and don't be spooked. This is a pretty loud and noisy storm system coming on through here. But the destructive warning is set to expire at the top of the hour. We're going to continue our coverage here past the top of the hour as we start our news at 5 o'clock, just to ride this out, because these are still some pretty impressive and strong storms moving towards the East Metro, Greenfield right here, Anderson, and locations northeast, east, and southeast of Indianapolis. This is where we're going to have some issues here going forward. But from downtown to 465 on the east side, that's where the most intense activity is right now. We are already looking at things improving dramatically back to the airport and points west. Aside from those rogue lightning strikes, we're getting some developing sunshine across the western part of the state and central Illinois. But right now, this is along the 65 corridor, 69 corridor as well across central Indiana. And I would say at the current progression of this, it is about 4:56, almost 5 o'clock. Probably by 7:30, we'll be able to get this whole line to shift east out of Indiana and into Ohio. And that would really end our severe weather threat. So this is not going to be an all evening, all night event. The main event is right now and for the next few hours. So Fisher's getting in on the action. Franklin, make sure you're in your storm protection zone as the storm comes on through. Again, strong wind potential, blinding rain, heavy downpours that could lead to some flooding here. And of course, those high wind gusts. Greenfield 505, Gas City 511, Columbus 519, Shelbyville 511. So really the east, southeast, and northeast metro, you're getting into the action right now. We've been following the storm line going down towards Bloomington, Bedford County, or down towards Bedford as well. And really this is the extent of it. And it's just these little bowing structures that are punching out. Those are the ones that will have some extra high wind potential as we go forward. So this is the big picture as we get into the late afternoon. It is 4:57. We are going to continue our severe weather coverage here as we get ready to start our news at 5 o'clock. And then we, at some point, if these storms can pulse down just a little bit, we may be switching back over to our regularly scheduled newscast. But right now we are in a Storm Track 8 weather alert. Storms have been producing tornado warnings today. The severe thunderstorm warnings continue. The tornado warnings we've had are no longer in effect. That is certainly good news. And the destructive severe thunderstorm warning is about ready to expire here at the top of the hour as well. But these storms are kicking out wind gusts that we've had 60, 70 plus measured. We've been sampling some wind speeds higher than that, a few thousand feet above the ground. But this is a pretty big line of storms, Ryan, moving on through.
We are also getting some delayed reports because that's what's going to kind of happen here with wind gusts. So wind gusts in Whitestown up to 60 miles an hour. Also had one, I believe it was in Martinsville. Or Whitestown was to 63. Martinsville was to 60 miles an hour. So that is severe thunderstorm criteria being met. Still have the line that's drifting off to the east. We have a couple warnings that are set to expire at the top of the hour. So the Weather Service is going to have to make a decision. They're going to extend some of these warnings. That does include the destructive severe thunderstorm warning issued for Marion County, the reason why we had tornado sirens going off, and also the reason why you had your phone going off. So that warning expires at 5 o'clock here in Marion County. We still have another severe thunderstorm warning off to the north and east, which also goes to the 5 o'clock. So we are expecting some more severe thunderstorm warnings to be issued on the north side of this line as it's drifting off to the east. I do want to go check back into the south because we had that area of rotation, which was getting picked up in Lawrence County. Let's take our graphics full here and kind of pull up Lawrence County. So it was this little kink in the line, which Stephen's right next to me. I'm not seeing as much as what we went earlier. What do you see?
I'm not either, Ryan. I think reflectivity is showing more than what's actually there. Sometimes reflectivity will kind of do that sort of like hook or like kind of like snaky, like S-shaped look. We've dealt with this before, Ryan. A couple months ago, we had a signature like that, but then the velocity was like not as impressive either. New severe thunderstorm warning,
I just saw
by the way, just got issued to extend it towards Muncie, part of Hamilton, Hancock, Henry, Howard, Madison, Marion, Rush, Tipton until 5:45. Now this cluster is of course moving away from Indy, but Anderson, Greenfield, Knightstown, to Muncie, to Carthage, need to be ready for these winds. We're talking wind potential up to 70 miles per hour. We've already had a history of these storms producing gusts up to at least 71, which was officially measured at the Indy airport.
Do they have a gust on the new warning?
Yeah, it's up to 70.
All right, Keith.
So this is another
tour possible tag.
Tour possible tag.
Okay, so yeah, we're going to continue monitoring this. Just heads up for folks back in the control room because this is still one of these destructive or considerable type storms that has elevated itself here. and we're just going to ride this out here until things kind of pulse down just a little bit. But again, this is not a tornado warning. We have a tornado possible tag on this warning. There are some squirrely little signatures along this line. Doesn't guarantee we're going to have a tornado. But what we do know is that this whole line has had a history of producing wind gusts, wind damage, power outages, and we just want to make sure you are prepared and in your safe zone as these storms come on through. So Greenfield, Pendleton, Anderson, Muncie here on the east and northeast side, this is where we have some of that strong wind. And again, severe thunderstorm warning has been extended for these areas until 5:45 with wind potential maybe up to 70, Ryan.
And we were talking about trying to get some of these radar readings basically as it was closer to the radar site, and it was pretty hard. Now that we have kind of the line of storms drifting off to the east, the red color, what we're referring to, that's moving away from the radar site. But now that we're miles well off to the east of the airport, we'll start to get some more accurate readings. Of course, it's still elevated, so not necessarily down to the surface, but you can kind of see the gusts behind me in parts of Hancock County, and looks like in Madison County, you have gusts still 60, 70 miles an hour. I know the Weather Service did not continue with the destructive tag on the severe thunderstorm warning, but there is still the potential for gusts up to 70 miles an hour. So that's still not too far away from what we kind of saw in the metro area.
Yeah, I mean, really, we're only talking a couple of miles per hour here in terms of our rankings as far as these warnings. But, you know, this is a big deal. We've got a summer storm moving through a major population zone. We're getting issues in terms of power outages and other issues across central Indiana, the metro, north, south, east, west. But on the leading edge, this is where we have the strongest wind potential. And maybe we can pop on our shear rate real quick here. Yeah. And, you know, this is not solid line here, but, you know, these little pockets show you where we have, you know, some of that strong wind potential, all of the stronger wind potential, I should mind you, and I should say. And then for the areas outlined in the orange, those are those severe thunderstorm warnings right now. Again, these will continue, some of which could include these storms that may have wind gusts up to about 70 miles per hour. So some intense activity. Power outages here. This has been a problem. We went from basically no outages to extensive issues. And again, these will continue to trickle on in. But, you know, around the metro and west, we are looking at tens of thousands of customers now without power. West, northwest, southwest, really hit hard up here towards Lafayette, West Lafayette. There's Indy, Greencastle, Terre Haute. What was that? More than 80,000. Okay, more than 80,000.
I was also going to add what we're missing from this map because it's coming in delayed is Hamilton County. We're getting quite a few reports out of Hamilton County. I kind of obviously circle it there on the map. We have no reports as of yet coming out of Hamilton County, but multiple reports of power outages there that are going to be coming in pretty quickly. So we're expecting these numbers to climb. Keith kind of mentioned it. We're up to 80,000 across the state, but that number will climb quite a bit higher once we get the full reports across the metro area, which are often delayed by a good 15, even 30 minutes on our system here. But let's kind of reset here. No tornado warnings at the time. So that is our one positive we've been kind of going through here. Severe thunderstorm warnings basically stretching from Tipton. I did want to mention Tipton because Tipton did gust to 69 miles an hour. We got a wind gust report there, so the northern flank of the line still holding together. But we have severe thunderstorm warnings still stretching from Tipton, Madison, all the way down to Columbus. And Columbus, we were sort of touching on this a little bit earlier. Columbus is one of the spots that's been hit hard pretty far this year in Bartholomew County. Line of storms is basically right on top of you, gusting 70 miles an hour plus. So our whole line is still holding with severe thunderstorm warnings north to south, and still has to get into quite a bit of communities in eastern Indiana before we completely wrap this event up.
So just looking at the latest storm motion here, it's about 30 to 40 miles per hour. So let's just take a wide view and a massive timeline here from here to the state line at about 35, 40 miles per hour. And we can just really, so that'd be about an hour, 2 hours. So, you know, by a little bit after 7 o'clock, I think we're going to be done here. But right now, it's pretty menacing. And, you know, we've got some folks out and about here. We're going to go out to our storm tracker at some point to see what the view is outside on some of our highways here in the area. We've had wet roads, of course, and also some wind-driven rain, blinding rain, travel problems, power outages, a lot of lightning here. So this is the latest storm track here. again, it's 5:05, and Columbus by 5:14 right here, and then over here towards Newcastle, and then up here towards Hartford City, that would be about 5:34. So right here, those are the communities that will be affected over the next little while between now and 5:45. These warnings will continue to most likely be expanded, and we'll likely all have a severe thunderstorm warning for most spots here by the end of the day. If you haven't had a storm yet, we're going to have this line of storms come on through. This is a pretty big deal. This is not widespread tornadic activity today, but this is some widespread wind damage today. And we're still looking at some pretty intense red here. And as Ryan just mentioned, this is now wind flowing away from the radar site. So this is very strong wind flying away from the radar site a couple thousand feet above ground level. 60, 70 plus still a possibility here. There's Fortville, Pendleton, right there along 69 north and east of the metro. So again, if you haven't had one of these storms, you're going to get that ominous looking shelf cloud like what we showed you as it came into Indianapolis. You're going to get the wind, you will have the rain, the lightning, maybe some power outages, and hopefully not a lot of damage, and then it will be in, it will be out. It's not going to last too long, but a good rough 5, maybe 10 minutes of some intense activity, and then it will subside, and then we'll just have some lighter rain with maybe some embedded rogue lightning strikes on the back side of it here. So pretty intense activity from these locations out towards Huntington, Marion, and Noblesville here to your northeast, and really locations along and east of 69 and along and east of 65. Let's move this map down just a little bit, show the South Metro and areas down towards the southern areas here, Ryan, real quick. So we can't forget about you down towards Columbus and also Seymour, locations east of Bedford. So this whole line is now warned, and it's going to likely continue to be warned. And we'll watch for those little kinks here, but in terms of wind, you know, we don't really see a lot of ferocious wind like what we had, say, an hour ago as those storms were punching on into the southwest side of Indianapolis. So let's go outside to 56 in College. We've got a storm tracker. Cody's out there. Let's see what's happening.
Yeah, Keith, right now we're at 54th near College, and what we want to show you is this downed tree that is basically blocking off half of 54th, which is definitely disrupting traffic in this area. And as you take a left right here, because somebody actually came by and rolled down their window to us and said that on 52nd, which we're now heading south towards 52nd, there's actually a downed power line. And it kind of goes to what you guys were talking about, is that on the front line of this storm, those intense winds, which we experienced, really did some damage as they came through. We've seen, that was the biggest limb that we've seen down, and we're on our way to see if we can find this down power line, and that's the danger, is down power lines, down limbs. And actually right here, there is some police officers who have 52nd closed off. And so basically we are just east of College at the corner of 52nd and it looks like Winthrop right here. So this area, yeah, there's a down power line right to our right. I don't know if you guys could see. Hey Nate, if you just pull forward just a little bit, I'm going to move this camera over to the right. I don't know if you guys can see or not, but there is a down power line basically at Winthrop and 52nd. So this storm is definitely causing some damage. Nothing major that we've seen just yet, but again, we've just kind of been centralized in the South Broad Ripple area. So we'll keep driving around and see what we can find, guys.
Okay, appreciate that update there, Cody, and stay safe out there. Watch out for those power lines. Big time storms ripping on through parts of the region. And Ryan, what do you have?
I just wanted to add something quickly, because Elwood, Keith, if you remember this weekend, had that flash flood warning. So some of the spots in northern Madison County and eastern Tipton County, this is where we had rainfall estimates through the past 5 days, 6, 7, 8 inches of rain. So you have heavy rain falling in some of those locations. It's kind of why we went into today watching for the flood threat. But just a quick mention of that, even though we're still monitoring for severe weather elsewhere, obviously at this point. There is still a severe thunderstorm warning out for Madison County with gusts to 70 miles an hour. But just a quick mention up there before we start to eye. And honestly, Keith, I'd say the southern part of this line is probably the part that's still holding together the most with all the lightning strikes.
For sure, and we always watch the lightning for intense activity. The higher the strikes, likely the stronger the storm. Just looking at some reports here from down towards the Bloomington area, some trees down, some healthy trees down, some power issues and some roads being blocked because of the trees. And I'm sure as these reports trickle on in, we will, of course, know a lot more as the evening unfolds as far as the volume of any tree destruction, flooding, all that kind of stuff. We're efforting a list of all of the high wind gusts we've had today. It's been pretty extensive across parts of the region. You know, some of us, we've had some wind gusts 50, 60, 70 miles per hour. And I don't know about you, but I woke up this morning at 7:30 with a severe warning storm in South Indianapolis. So some of us have had 2 strong storms today. Of course, this one, this line, this batch, Shelbyville, Columbus, down towards Seymour, and now in the Bedford area, Bloomington, just east of you. This is really intense in terms of rainfall, lightning. Maybe not as strong as the wind we had earlier, but we're still dealing with a pretty intense batch of storms. Again, we had the rogue storms this morning and these stronger storms this afternoon. Right?
I did want to mention, we haven't talked much about the hail threat today. Most of these cells have at best been producing penny-sized hail. But within this cell just north of Anderson, Keith, it's starting to take off with the hail core.
Yep, so there you go. So anytime we get that darker magenta or black, you know, that's sizable type hail here. And again, really the main threat going into today, as you probably heard us talk about the last few days, damaging wind, heavy rainfall. There was a hail threat, there was a spin-up tornado threat. We've of course had some tornado warnings, but go ahead and pop on our hail estimate here. Can we see, yeah, there's a little bit of hail core there. So some of these values could be a little bit skewed high if we query this, but let's just say this. There's likely a little hail potential here. This would be just to the southeast and east of Elwood near Alexandria, and south of Summitville along State Highway 9 right here. So just a side note there, this is a minor deal compared to the big picture where we are dealing with destructive wind and all of that occurring across central Indiana right now. So it's 5:12, just resetting the situation right now. These considerable severe thunderstorm warnings continue until 5:45, I do believe, for most of these locations here. At least, or one of these.
We got 5:15.
5:15, okay. This one is 5:45, correct, the northern one. So we are about ready to have a new issued statement or warning at some point here, I would assume, from the National Weather Service in Indianapolis. But this warning for Shelbyville and Franklin, Nashville, this is set to expire in about 2 minutes or less.
Just a quick eyeball. It looks like we might have the outflow trying to outrun it.
And that's always a good sign.
That's a good sign.
So like if we get the outflow boundary to race out ahead of the actual storm, that will limit the intensification and really mute things as far as additional growth. So we want to see a little boundary get kicked out. Now those little boundaries can trip off additional storms, but it would mean that this batch of storms would likely have had its peak reached, and then we'll start to hover or slightly decrease in intensity here. So that hopefully is a trend that's worth monitoring here. But having said that, there's still a lot of rain and wind and all of that associated with this severe warning storm. And again, just looking back at the chat room here, getting some more reports of some wind damage, some tree damage over in Morgan County and various other locations across the area here as well. It is 5:14 on a busy Wednesday afternoon. We're tracking severe weather here, and this is our wind velocity. It doesn't look to be too menacing there. I do notice maybe we have a new warning here.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, it'll be interesting to see if the Weather Service does continue the severe thunderstorm warning up here through Shelby County, and there we go. Because we were just about to get an expiration at 5:15.
Okay.
So we have a new one that goes until 6 County, Decatur, Rush, Shelbyville, and a separate warning that includes Bartholomew County. Looks like they all run until 6.
Okay, so, and this is for a non-destructive, what looks like a non-destructive, just
60, just 60.
You know, I don't want to say just baseline storm, but relative to considerable destructive tornado warning storm. A regular severe thunderstorm warning can cause problems, but you know, relative to what we could have, we'll take it at this point. So just another severe thunderstorm warning for areas with the storm just coming into Columbus right there, and in areas around Nashville. You've had your rough weather. You're about ready to get on out of it. So this warning here has been extended really for the next 45 minutes, and that will be allowed to just continue as the storm comes on through.
I did want to mention quickly.
62?
Yeah, Brown County gusted to 62, which is still meeting severe criteria in Brown County with the cell. That's probably why they went ahead and extended this thing.
Okay, so we're still getting some wind gusts 60 plus, and we still have potential for maybe some slightly higher totals. And we're still working. Stephen, do you have that graphic completed yet over there?
Yes.
Okay, so we can go ahead and take graphics 5. Graphics 5, please. I want to show you this. We'll take this full screen here.
Okay.
We've got, well, Ryan, go down the list here.
Yeah, so we'll go through our wind gust report. Obviously, we had the destructive severe thunderstorm warning that went through Indianapolis. We gusted to 71 officially at the airport at 4:32. Remember, we might get still some reports that are heavily delayed. We had another 69-mile-an-hour gust in Tipton at 4:54. Estimated 70-mile-an-hour gust just west of IU at 4:32 in Bloomington. 63-mile-an-hour gust on the northwest side in Whitestown. And we still have plenty of tree damage and power outages in Vigo County. Those reports still coming in. And judging by some of the power outages, I'll sort of pull that back up here. We're seeing them climb, especially when we saw the gusts first start to peak around 70, 80 miles an hour. So I'm going to pull up our power outages and kind of get new readings across the area. And Indianapolis especially has climbed. But those were some of the gusts we have officially seen across the area. Marion County up to 24,000 without power. Tippecanoe, 12,000. Hamilton County, which is just starting to get in. I know it's only 100 outages, but seen some damage reports coming in, so those will continue to filter in. 8,000 in, I believe that is Putnam County, and just over 5,000 in Hendricks County. So those are some of the newer reports, along with Monroe County, which is over 5,000. We've climbed to over 100,000 people without power due to some of these wind gusts in the state, Keith. So
yeah,
a lot of action.
Right, it's been expanding all afternoon. And let's go up and check the storm out near and just southwest of Muncie.
Okay.
There is a little bit of rotation showing up on our storm relative velocity product here. They got a new severe thunderstorm warning for this one, but let's see, Muncie right here. Okay, so this little feature here is worth watching, of course. That is something that is of interest. We will monitor this as we get a little bit deeper into the evening, of course, but just want to throw that out there that the tornado threat is not zero, but we have a new severe thunderstorm warning issued for this area, and this goes to, has a tornado possible tag on it, considerable, winds up to 70 miles per hour once again.
And to kind of give you an idea of where we're looking here, it's that area of rotation, that light area of rotation Keith was kind of mentioning, that is crossing I-69. It's just west of Yorktown and at the Madison County, Delaware County line. And again, the warning runs until 5:45, but just judging where the line of showers and storms are now, it's almost approaching the fringe of where that warning has been issued to. So the Weather Service will probably have to make a decision pretty shortly if they're going to extend that warning or not.
Yeah, and you know, these kind of circulations are, you know, if one were to develop, it's going to be quick, it's going to be subtle, it's going to be small. This isn't one of those gigantic supercell storms where we have a classic signature and we've got all of this great stuff to show you. It's very difficult to really show you one of these spin-ups if it does happen to occur. I'm not saying it's going to occur or is occurring, but little kinks on these lines, these are the ones that can produce those brief spin-ups. And we've had a couple of tornado warnings today for some squirrely circulations. And you know, right now we're expecting you know, some damaging wind to come out of this, but anytime we get a little kink in that line, especially this one here between Anderson and Muncie, right there along 69, that just bears watching. If nothing else, this little arc right here, that's where some of the more intense wind could be. But having said that, we just have to be on guard for some strong wind if you have not had one of these storms just yet. So this is the very latest here, 5:20 on our Wednesday afternoon. Line of strong storms going down towards Shelbyville and moving into the Columbus area. And again, these little notches are the ones that just have to be closely monitored. We have multiple storm warnings that will continue through the 5 o'clock hour up until 6 o'clock. So if you are awaiting one of these storms, you will eventually get one. It may be warned. And right now we have a lot of warnings associated with the storms. But the storms, you know, have lost a little bit of their punch.
So I just want to get caught up to, because we're getting a delayed report, that there may have been rotation in the 4 o'clock hour in parts of Monroe County. Never got a tornado warning issued, but it'll be interesting, Weather Service, if they investigate this a little bit further. But there was some spin that was in Monroe County earlier. That area spin was basically lost as it went east. So again, this was the 4 o'clock hour. And Keith, we're still watching Bartholomew County, because I'm still seeing maybe some kinks in the line. And I know this is one of the spots that has been hit pretty hard this year with severe weather and just in general.
We need a break in some of these spots. There's been a very active spring and summer. We already are, 55 tornadoes confirmed for the year so far across the state as of yesterday. And we are dealing with another severe weather event right now. And the little kinks in the line are the ones that have the potential problems. But the nature of the beast right now with these squall lines, we can get a spin up without a warning. So we have to treat the storm as it comes your way as a storm that could produce a tornado. It's likely going to cause some sort of high wind gusts, and even a bare bones tornado is going to be, in the low 60s, the mid 60s as far as wind speeds. And we're getting some widespread wind damage associated with some wind gusts, 60 to 70 miles per hour. So if we were just to have one storm producing a tornado, the destruction, the problems would be so much more limited than what we're having right now, because this line of storms is extensive, and the volume of wind within the storm is pretty extensive. And Columbus, you're getting rocked right now pretty good. And those little notches, Ryan, are the ones we just have to keep watching. It doesn't look like there's anything too crazy as far as rotation right now, but just assume and treat these storms as if they could produce a tornado. The shear rate product, though, did do a pretty good job there. And whenever we're getting a signature like that, that's something to be mindful of. So Columbus, between there and Hope here, that is an item of concern for sure as it continues marching to the northeast.
And this is once again all Bartholomew County, which a couple weeks ago, months ago, we had multiple tornadoes in Bartholomew County. So one of the spots to watch, obviously, Keith was just mentioning, we got no tornado warning there. All these warnings at times have basically had a tor possible tag or dropped it, which basically means tornado possible, but rotation is not strong enough to warrant a tornado warning. So we are without a tornado warning for the time being. I did want to make another brief mention. We'll go kind of climb back into Henry County and Delaware County, where the warning goes until 5:45. I'm expecting any moment for the Weather Service to potentially issue a new severe thunderstorm warning, or decide to, we'll see if they start to expire the previous one, just because the line of showers and storms is right on the edge of exiting the warning area. So these areas in Newcastle and Muncie, parts of Muncie are included in the severe thunderstorm warning, but we're probably going to get one issued to the state line, which could include Randolph County, Wayne County, and it would probably be for wind gusts 60, 70 miles an hour plus, which is sort of the trend we've seen with basically every severe thunderstorm warning issued so far.
Yeah, these storms are moving quick. So there's the state line right here, and we don't have too much longer to go until we will. There you go, Ryan.
Yeah, there it is.
You asked for it, you got it. We've got that new severe thunderstorm warning now extended all the way to the state line, including the city of Winchester. And it looks like this is going to go until 6 o'clock as well. So good and bad news. Bad news, if you're waiting these storms to come on through, you will have some wind damage potential and everything that is associated with a severe warning storm. Positive news, these are fast moving, and it looks like we're going to clear a lot of this out of here before 7 o'clock across our coverage area here. And that is hours ahead of what we were projecting even yesterday at this time. So the storm threat will be winding down in the early evening before sunset, and we can do a little bit of cleanup prior to sunset, and then we can start to do some serious recovery if you have some of that damage, more so over the next couple of days. But it's always good to have some daylight as these storms are coming on through, so you can see what you don't want to be around, like down power lines or trees or anything like that. So intense rainfall, severe thunderstorm warning extended all the way now into the eastern part of the state of Indiana until 6 o'clock. And that storm complex right here could have a little bit of that outflow boundary kicking out of it, but it looks like we are going to you can see that low boundary right here southeast of Shelbyville. So this boundary is going to keep moving out, and as long as it's out there and tracking east, we will likely have more storms, or that line of storms will come into areas to Greensburg and eventually farther to the east. Connorsville, Richmond, you're not in any warning right now. But just keep in mind, we still technically have that tornado watch in effect until 8 o'clock for a good chunk of our area. And the line of storms has the potential to produce some tornadic activity. I said most of the area, not all, the far southeast, and we've trimmed back the counties back to the northwest. Ryan has populated that map. All that red is that tornado watch.
Yeah, we have more areas to kind of all clear. I mentioned Tippecanoe County not too long ago, but we had Montgomery County cleared from it, down through Clay County, Sullivan County, Vigo County. These are all spots who have been cleared from the tornado watch. We have yet to get any sort of watch, which includes Connorsville, Richmond, and some of these areas to the south and east. And no word if we're going to sort of get these extended, but these are the areas that are not in a tornado watch, but a severe thunderstorm. A line that consistently has been producing severe thunderstorms is right on your doorstep, moving to the east about 40, even 50 miles an hour. So not done, even though not in a tornado watch for some of these spots in eastern Indiana. But everything remains warned for the most part for wind.
Right, and that was really the big driver here today, strong damaging wind, and that is going to likely be the main driver for the storms for the rest of today. We can clear off that tornado watch here. We'll continue to monitor for some spin-ups here. And at some point, as these storms start to ease and hopefully degrade themselves just a little bit more, we still have another hour and a half of news here for this evening. We will be efforting going back over to our regular scheduled newscast. Once we start to see these storms weaken just a little bit more, but right now we want to just keep this a little bit longer here on the weather side as they continue to march on through here. So you're just playing a wind advisory.
I just want to mention this quickly because I know, Keith, you were mentioning we're kind of quieting down behind this. We are noting some non-thunderstorm wind gusts back into eastern Illinois of 50 miles an hour plus. That's about to clip parts of our area. So non-thunderstorm wind gusts almost on the backside as we're rushing in all this air. You might get some gusts up to 50 miles an hour. So that's kind of why.
You know, you may want to pop up the visible satellite real quick.
Yeah, that would be a good point.
And that shows the structure of the storm. This is what's really interesting to show you. Let's zoom out just a little bit. So if we put this into motion, the area of low pressure driving all of this is up here in Illinois. And we're drying things out just a little bit on the backside of it. So we're still getting some wind gusts here on the backside of the storms. There are the storms right here in Indiana, but we're getting clearing back to the west, and we will expect some improvement later on this evening. As the area of low pressure tracks more so into Michigan, this is going to take some stronger storms back to the northeast. One part of the state where we could have some storms that could linger a little bit longer, since this low is tracking northeast, away from southern Indiana, there could be some development that could linger a little bit longer across the south into this evening. That's what some of our data was suggesting earlier today. But we'll see how things play out. But again, that wind advisory for some non-thunderstorm winds on the backside of this, and I guess just adding more insult to injury after this destructive wind we've had in parts of the area so far with the tens of thousands of power outages. I think the last report around 80,000 outages across the state.
It's actually over 100.
Okay, over 100,000 outages now in the state of Indiana. So this has been a big, well-advertised event, and if you happen to remember, about a week ago, we were mentioning the possibility for this week, today, to have something like this at some point, and here we go. This is really the transition from a stormy weather pattern into more of a hot and humid and pretty quiet pattern for the weekend and early next week. So we're going to turn the temperature up and really downgrade our storm chances close to zero and ratchet up the humidity. But right now in that transition, we've got this. And clusters, Ryan, of these powerful pockets of lightning or destructive lightning strikes here. You know, cloud-to-ground lightning strikes can be very problematic, and that's what we're plotting here, especially from Shelbyville south. Look at that.
I was going to say there's two parts of the line kind of holding together, as you were mentioning, Keith. Shelbyville south, and it looks like this cluster that's directly over Muncie or moving into Muncie. Between that, we were kind of noting there is that outflow boundary that might signal that we're on the weakening trend between them.
So like right along the I-70 corridor here, folks, you may luck out, in the big picture. You may miss the storm to the north and miss the action to the south. But, we're still getting the storm here, Carthage and Knightstown there. And here's Cambridge City. This is I-70 Greenfield right here. So this may be a spot where we don't get a lot of action. So we'll hope for that. We don't want any destruction. But now the severe thunderstorm warning look has been extended even into Ohio now. So let's do a big, broad storm track on this again and just time things out for the rest of our area. So from areas around Muncie down to areas down towards Seymour and to the east, this is that storm that is tracking, 40 to 50 miles per hour. This would take it to Richmond by 6:04, which is, close to the state line. And sometime in the 6 o'clock hour, we're going to be washing our hands of this line of storms. The southern part of this line is a little bit slower mover, so it may take a while to get totally into Ohio. But there's Greensburg, and is making a nice, fast progression across the state. We don't want it, but as long as it's here, the faster it gets out of here, the better. But right now, as of 5:31, this is our severe weather coverage, continuing the storms here this afternoon. And we will keep this here just a little bit longer and expand our discussion here just a little bit, eventually switching over to our newscast here. Let's sample some of these wind speeds. Again, Ryan, it looks like you're diving into that here with our velocity. Just give folks the heads up. Still looking at some wind speeds. What's the elevation?
That's what I was just going to say. It's worth noting now. Before, when we were talking about some of these same samplings near Indianapolis, we were only at 500 to 1,000 feet off the ground. What you're looking at is wind gusts 60 to 70, maybe even near 80 miles an hour. However, that is close to 7,000 feet off our ground. So basically, our radar beam is looking a decent bit up into the storm. So it's not necessary those wind gusts are translating to the surface, but still have to monitor some of these areas, Muncie included. Winchester is going to be on your doorstep within the next half hour. And Richmond, as we were mentioning, getting close to the top of the hour, the line's going to reach you. I'm going to sort of shift things back to our south, and we're not getting the best samplings from our radar site here, but we'll pull up reflectivity. It's still strong part of the line because we've had plenty of lightning strikes embedded with this part of the line. So this line is holding together into Bartholomew County, Shelby County, and basically points south almost to the state line. That is where we're still seeing some strong storms and strong winds embedded with this line, even though it's not necessarily getting picked up on our radar, given we are thousands of feet off the ground here. But still going to watch this here in the next hour because the tornado threat is not zero. We've seen a lot of these events this year, even when they merge into a line of showers and storms. Maybe you get a quick spin up within that line as it's drifting off to the east, and we're not going to fully rule that out yet before it gets to the state line. Hail has been one of the smaller concerns going into today, and we did have that hail core, which was in northern Madison County and transitioned into Delaware County. It doesn't look like there's as much there in general, but still some stronger winds going into Delaware County, about to head into Winchester as well. Might have a small little hail core just north of Rushville. I'm going to pull back lightning strikes. So the strongest part of this middle portion of the line, likely directly over Rush County near Rushville, might have some pea-sized hail falling within that, and that is going to be drifting off to the east towards Connorsville and Richmond as well. Checking in with the Weather Service, it's kind of been a little bit quieter here in the last half hour.
Yeah,
Keith.
Things have kind of eased up a little bit. We're going to go over to Farron real quick, and we'll do a quick little update from her and a couple of tips for you. And then we're going to bring it back over the weather, and we're going to reevaluate the situation. Farron, take it away.
Yeah, so let's just kind of go over this for a second because there's probably many of you right now without power. So the first thing that you're going to want to do, make sure that you download our Storm Track 8 weather app. It's going to be helping you out throughout all those power outages. But let's also talk about what happens, like let's say if you're watching us right now and you're streaming on the road, we're going to talk about what you actually need to do if you are caught in your car during this severe weather. First thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to find a sturdy building or shelter or any low-lying area, because again, we don't know if these tornadoes or if there's going to be any type of spin-ups that are going to be happening, but again, it's just kind of a way to keep you safe. So again, you're going to want to find that sturdy building or a shelter or a low-lying area. The second thing that you're going to want to do, if in any case, shape, or form, you are stuck in your car, you're going to want to buckle your seatbelt, put your head below your windows, and you're going to want to cover your head with your hands. If you have a blanket in your car, you're going to want to bring that over your head. You're going to want to protect yourself from any kind of glass that could possibly be happening. We're going to go to the next one here. You're also going to be wanting to avoid any kind of low-lying area as well. Again, here, parking under trees, power lines, or structures that could collapse. You're going to want to avoid all of that. So if you can possibly go underneath a bridge or something like that, that's where you're going to want to be positioned. But again, wanting to find something to cover your head, that's going to be the most important part here. And you're also going to want to make sure that, again, that you're avoiding all of these structures here. Again, there's going to be a lot of power outages that we're tracking right now, so you're going to want to make sure that if anything, make sure that your stuff is charged, make sure you download our Storm Track 8 weather app, and make sure that you're following us closely, because our meteorologists, they're good at what they do, and they're monitoring all of this closely for you. So we're going to send things back over to our Chief Meteorologist, Keith Gibson, and Ryan Morris, who are doing quite an amazing job, I must say,
Been
gentlemen.
super busy here, and just to let you guys know, in news and production, we're going to wrap up our extended coverage here as soon as you tell me it's safe to do so, and then we'll start our regularly scheduled newscast here. But right now, just to sum things up real quick, a line of strong storms, severe warning storms now pushing into eastern and southeastern Indiana, numerous severe thunderstorm warnings. We will continue to monitor this. No active tornado warnings right now. We have ongoing issues from the storms as they've been moving on through. We will watch this for the next hour, hour and a half, and by then the severe threat should be winding on down. We're going to go to break, and when we come back, we'll have our regularly scheduled newscast.
The exclusive home of iTeam8, Wish TV. We are local.
It's dog days of summer, the time homeowners are thinking about vacations and relaxing, not remodeling their bathroom. We want to keep our guys busy. So for a limited time, you can replace that moldy shower or out-of-date bathtub, or change your existing tub into a new SureStep walk-in shower and save $1,100 off your project. Plus a free handheld shower with your purchase. Call LJ Stone Company now or go online at ljstone.com.
Ultimate pool party sale at Family Leisure. Huge savings on pools, supplies, sun loungers, shade solutions, spas, and more. Ultimate pool party sale going on now at Family Leisure.
At Best One, helping our customers is like taking care of family.
Our family is ready to serve you.
That's why every detail of every job matters to our